The village was quiet that evening. The suns had almost set, painting the sky with deep shades of purple and red. Small fires burned in clay pots, keeping the cold away as children played on the dusty paths. But inside a small broken house at the edge of the village, an alien woman sat in silence. Her hands trembled as she held something she had hidden for many years. It was a picture of a human man. The edges were torn and the colors had faded, but the man's face was still clear. His eyes were sharp, filled with strength, his smile calm, yet mysterious. She traced the outline of his jaw with her fingers, as if touching his skin through the worn paper. Her chest tightened with memories she had buried, memories she could never forget. Her child, no more than 8 years old, sat across from her. The boy had the same bright eyes as hers, but something in his face was different. Sharper, almost human. For years she had avoided answering his questions. Every time he asked about his father, she would look away. Every time he pressed harder, she would change the subject, but that night she felt the weight of the secret crushing her. The boy leaned closer, his small voice breaking the silence. "Mother, who is that?" His finger pointed at the picture she had been staring at. His words were curious, innocent, but his eyes demanded the truth. She froze. Her heart pounded. She had promised herself she would never speak of the man, never speak of the night that changed her life. But the picture was in her hands and the truth was burning on her tongue. She swallowed hard and whispered, "He's the one." Her voice cracked. "He's your father." The boy's mouth opened. In shock, his eyes grew wide as he reached for the picture. He stared at the human man as if trying to find himself in that face. He touched the paper gently, almost afraid it would disappear. "My father? A human?" he asked, his voice trembling. The mother nodded slowly. She could not meet his eyes. Her hands tightened on her knees. "Yes, my child. He is human, and he is your blood." The words escaped her lips like broken chains. The boy's heart raced. He looked again at the picture, then back at his mother. "But why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep him a secret?" His voice carried hurt, confusion, and something deeper, a hunger to know who he truly was. She turned her face toward the wall. Shadows flickered across her cheek as the fire outside danced. "Because it was dangerous," she whispered. "Because if anyone knew, they would take you away from me." The child's breath caught. "Why? Why would they take me?" Her eyes filled with tears. She turned to him, her voice trembling. "Because you are different. You are not fully like them, and not fully like him. You are something they fear." The boy's hands shook as he held the picture tighter. His chest felt heavy. He could not understand why being half-human was a curse, but he could see the pain in his mother's eyes. He could feel the years of silence weighing on her shoulders. "Tell me about him," the boy begged. "Tell me what he was like." The woman closed her eyes. Memories she had buried came rushing back. She saw the human soldier who had saved her life during the war. She saw the way he had stood between her and death, the way his eyes had softened when she wept. She remembered his voice, his laughter, and the warmth of his arms. For one brief moment in a world full of hate, she had felt safe. She had felt loved. "He was brave," she whispered. "He was strong, and he was kind to me when no one else was. He gave me hope when I had none. That is the man in this picture. And that is your father." The boy's lips trembled as he whispered, "I want to meet him, Mother. I want to see him with my own eyes." Her heart sank. She had feared these words. For years she had prayed the child would never ask. But now, looking into his eyes, she knew she could not stop him. The truth had been released, and it could not be locked away again. The fire outside crackled, and the night grew colder. But inside that broken house, the air was heavy. A mother and child sat together, the picture between them. Their lives had just changed forever. The boy's small hand rested over the image of the man. His eyes glowed with determination, and his voice broke the silence once more. "Mother, if he is my father, then I will find him." The woman's breath caught. Her fingers tightened. She wanted to stop him, to protect him, but deep inside, a part of her longed for the same thing. To see him again, to know if he was still alive, to know if the bond they once shared could still exist. The night pressed on and the picture lay between them. A fragile piece of paper carrying a powerful truth. The boy stared at it until sleep finally pulled at his eyes. But even in his dreams, he whispered the same words. Over and over. I will find him. The next morning came slowly. The sky was still gray when the alien boy opened his eyes. His first thought was not of food, not of play, but of the picture he had held so tightly all night. The picture of the human man. The man his mother had finally called his father. He rose quietly and found it lying on the table. His small fingers brushed over the paper as if touching something sacred. His chest felt heavy with questions. Questions that had no answers. Questions that only his mother could give. She was already awake, sitting near the fire with her head bowed. Her face looked tired, as if she had not slept at all. When the boy approached, she lifted her eyes, and the silence between them was sharper than any blade. Mother, he said, his voice trembling. Why did you hide him from me? Why didn't you ever tell me the truth? Her lips parted, but no words came. She looked into his eyes and saw the hurt, the hunger for answers. She had feared this moment for years, yet now there was no escape. I wanted to protect you, she whispered. I wanted you safe. If they knew you were half human, they would call you a danger. They would tear you from me. I could not let that happen. The boy's hands clenched around the picture. His voice cracked. But why? What is so wrong with being half human? Why do they hate us so much? She lowered her gaze. The fire crackled softly, its glow reflecting in her sad eyes. Because the war changed everything. Humans and my kind fought until rivers turned red. Trust was burned away. Even now, many see humans as monsters. The child's eyes widened. And yet you loved him, he said softly. You loved a human. Her heart twisted. Yes, she had loved him, even when the world said she should not. He was not like the others, she whispered. He saw me, not as an enemy, not as prey, but as someone worth saving. The boy's voice grew louder, filled with emotion. Then why did he leave us? Why is he not here? The question pierced her chest like a blade. Her hands shook. She had asked herself the same question 1,000 times. He did not know, she whispered. He did not know about you. When the war ended, he was taken away. And I never saw him again. The boy's breath caught. He stared at the picture, his small body trembling with confusion. So he never knew I was his son? No, she said softly. He never knew. Tears formed in the child's eyes. He hugged the picture close, as if afraid it might vanish. I want to see him, Mother. I want to stand before him and tell him. I want him to know I am his son. Her throat tightened. She reached out and held his small hand. It is not that simple. The world outside this village is cruel. Humans are watched, hunted. If we try to find him, we may be destroyed before we even reach him. But the boy shook, his head, his young eyes fierce with determination. I don't care. I need to know who I am. I need to meet him. I cannot live without knowing the truth. His words struck her deeply. For years she had carried the weight of silence. For years she had hidden the truth to protect him. But now the truth had grown into something stronger than fear. Her son's spirit could not be caged. You are still a child, she said, her voice breaking. You don't know the dangers. You don't know the pain of this world. The boy straightened, holding the picture against his chest. Then teach me, Mother. Teach me how to survive. Teach me how to fight if I must. But do not ask me to forget him. I can't. I won't. She stared at him, her heart torn. His words echoed the man she had once known. The same fire, the same stubborn will. She saw the human in him more clearly than ever. Finally, she whispered, If you want to find him, then we will go together. The boy's eyes filled with light. He rushed into her arms, hugging her tightly. "Thank you, Mother, thank you." Her tears fell as she held him. She knew the journey ahead would be filled with danger. She knew the world would not welcome them. Yet she also knew she could not stop what had already begun. The moment she showed him the picture, their path was set. The fire burned lower as morning grew brighter. Outside, the village stirred with life. But inside that small house, mother and son clung to each other, bound not only by blood but by a truth too powerful to hide. The boy looked at the picture one last time before slipping it into his small bag. His voice was steady. "I will not let them take him from me. I will find him." The mother closed her eyes, whispering a silent prayer to the stars above. A prayer that they would survive what was to come, for the boy's questions had given birth to something far greater than fear. They had given birth to hope, and hope, she knew, could change everything. The village was still half asleep when the mother packed their few belongings. She moved quietly, careful not to wake the neighbors. For years she had lived in silence, blending in, hiding the truth. But now her son knew, and his questions had lit a fire that could not be put out. The boy clutched the picture tightly. He carried it in a small cloth bag tied around his chest. His steps were light, but his eyes burned with determination. He was too young to understand the weight of their journey, but old enough to know that staying would mean living with unanswered questions. The mother glanced at him often. Her heart ached at his courage, yet fear coiled inside her. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the dangers waiting beyond the fields. She whispered in her heart that she must protect him no matter what. As they walked past the edge of the village, the morning air was cool. The ground was damp with dew, and the forest stretched before them like a wall of shadows. The boy stopped and looked back at the place he had always called home. It looked small now, fragile, as if it had never truly belonged to him. "Mother," he asked softly, "what if we don't find him?" Her steps slowed. She looked at him and saw the fear hiding beneath his brave face. She touched his cheek gently. "We will search until we cannot walk anymore. We will follow the stars, the stories, and the roads. But listen, my son. No matter what happens, you are not alone. You have me." The boy nodded, his small hand slipping into hers. For a moment he felt safe. Yet in his heart he knew their lives had already changed forever. They entered the forest. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches like arms reaching for the sky. Strange sounds echoed around them. Chirps, growls, whispers of unseen creatures. The boy's eyes darted from side to side, but his mother walked with steady steps, guiding him. Every mile they traveled carried the weight of danger. Patrols roamed the outer lands, searching for anyone who broke the laws of the council, and humans, though fewer in number here, were watched carefully. To speak of them kindly was considered betrayal. To love one was unthinkable. By midday, they rested near a stream. The water sparkled in the light, and the boy knelt to drink. His mother watched the trees, alert, every sense sharp. She had learned long ago that peace could vanish in a heartbeat. "Mother," the boy whispered, "what if he doesn't want to see me? What if he refuses to believe?" Her chest tightened. She knelt beside him, brushing his hair back. "Listen to me. He is your father, even if he does not know it yet. Even if his heart doubts, blood never lies. When he looks at you, he will see himself." The boy swallowed hard, hope shining in his eyes. He wanted to believe her words. He needed to believe them. As they continued, the path grew steeper. The forest thinned, opening to wide fields where tall grasses swayed. In the distance, smoke curled into the sky, a sign of another settlement. The mother's heart raced. Should they risk asking for news, or would questions draw suspicion? They moved carefully, keeping to the edges, but already whispers followed them. Strangers eyed the boy with suspicion. His features were not fully alien. His eyes carried a human sharpness that could not be hidden. A merchant muttered to another, "That boy, something about him is wrong." The mother pulled her son closer, lowering her hood to hide her face. "Keep walking," she whispered. "Do not look back." The boy obeyed, but fear pressed on him. For the first time he realized the danger was real. He was not only different, he was marked. As night fell, They built a small fire in a hidden grove. The boy curled beside his mother, clutching the picture under his cloak. The stars shimmered, above them, endless and bright. He stared at them, imagining his father under the same sky, perhaps looking up, wondering about the family he never knew. "Mother," the boy murmured, his eyes heavy with sleep. "Do you think he dreams about us?" Her throat closed. She looked into the fire, the flames dancing like memories. "I do not know, my son, but I believe. One day he will." The forest whispered around them. A new path had begun, filled with shadows, fear, and fragile hope. But neither mother nor child turned back, for the picture had awakened something that could not be buried again. The journey had begun, and it would change everything. The road ahead grew harsher as mother and son walked from village to village. Each step carried more risk. Each question they asked about the human man left ripples behind them, ripples that soon turned into whispers. At first, the whispers were faint, spoken behind closed doors. "Did you hear?" A woman and her child asking about a human. Some laughed, dismissing it as nonsense. Others frowned, uneasy, for in this land speaking of humans kindly was dangerous, and seeking one was madness. The boy listened carefully whenever they passed through a new settlement. He caught fragments of talk. A trader muttering about a scarred human once seen near the border. A soldier whispering of a man who fought with courage, then vanished after the war. The boy's heart raced each time. He believed every word might be about his father. His mother, however, walked with heavy caution. She knew rumors spread faster than fire, and the more people spoke of them, the greater the danger. Yet she could not silence her son's hope. For every whisper they heard gave him strength. One evening they reached a marketplace filled with noise and color. The boy's eyes widened at the sight of stalls stacked with fruits, cloth, and shining trinkets, but his focus never wavered. He tugged on his mother's hand and whispered, "We must ask here too." She hesitated, fear gnawing at her. But then she saw the determination in his face, and she nodded slowly. Together, they moved from stall to stall, speaking softly, showing the faded picture to strangers. Some turned away with disgust, refusing to look. Some sneered, "Why search for a human? They bring nothing but ruin." Others leaned closer, curiosity shining in their eyes. One old merchant squinted at the picture, his wrinkled lips curling into a strange smile. "I have heard," the old man whispered, "of a human who walks. Alone, he is older now, carries scars across his face. Some say he wanders near the ruins of the old fort seeking something or someone." The boy's heart leapt. "That must be him," he cried, but the merchant only shrugged. "Or it may be another ghost story. Beware, child, ghosts can be cruel." The mother pulled her son away quickly. She felt eyes following them. Too many had heard. Too many now knew they searched for a human. And in a world where fear ruled, whispers could turn into threats. As night fell, they left the marketplace and found shelter beneath a broken wall at the edge of the town. The boy lay awake, clutching the picture. His mind spun with the merchant's words, a human near the ruins of the old fort. Could it truly be his father? "Mother," he whispered, "do you believe it? Do you think he is there?" Her eyes were heavy with worry, but she forced a gentle answer. "I do not know, my son. But I know we must be careful. Hope can be a light, but it can also draw the wolves." The boy frowned. "I am not afraid of wolves." His voice was sharp with courage. His mother stared at him in silence. She knew courage alone would not protect him, yet she also knew she could not crush his spirit. The next days brought more whispers. In one village, they heard that soldiers were hunting for a woman and a strange boy. In another, a drunkard shouted that a half-breed child walks among us, cursed blood in his veins. The mother's fear grew heavier. They were no longer shadows passing unseen. They were a story spreading across the land. Still the boy pressed on. His faith only deepened. Each whisper, whether kind or cruel, was a sign, a thread leading him closer to his father. When fear shook his mother's heart, his voice steadied her. We cannot stop now. We are closer than before. One night as they camped beside a fallen tree, the boy stared at the stars. His voice was quiet but certain. They may whisper, they may call me cursed, but one day they will see. When I stand beside him, when he calls me his son, their whispers will end. The mother felt tears in her eyes. She reached out and drew him close. She whispered into his hair, I pray you are right, my child. I pray you are right. The forest around them was filled with the rustle of leaves and the cries of distant creatures. Yet in the silence between mother and son, there was something stronger than fear, something that no whisper could silence. Hope. The ruins of the old fort rose from the earth like broken bones. Cracked walls leaned against each other, covered in moss and vines. The air smelled of stone, dust, and old battles long forgotten. The boy's heart pounded as he clutched the picture against his chest. His mother's hand gripped his shoulder, steady but tense. They had followed whispers for weeks, crossing rivers, climbing ridges, hiding from patrols. Every village had a different story. Some said the human was dead. Some said he was a ghost. But here among these ruins, silence ruled. Silence heavy enough to feel like truth. Stay close, his mother whispered. Her eyes scanned every shadow, every broken archway for all she knew. Danger could be hiding in the dark corners. But her son's gaze was fixed forward. His small steps carried him deeper into the ruins. A sound broke the silence, the soft crunch of boots against stone. The boy froze, his breath caught in his throat. Then, from behind a shattered wall, a figure emerged. He was taller than the boy had imagined. Broad shoulders carried the weight of years. His face was rough, scarred across the cheek, his hair streaked with gray. He moved with the careful steps of someone who had survived too much. The boy's heart raced. He knew that face, though older, though hardened by time. It was the same face in the picture. He could not stop himself. He stepped forward, holding the picture high, his voice cracked. It's you. You are him. The man stopped. His eyes narrowed. He looked first at the boy, then at the woman behind him. His expression was unreadable, his voice low and rough. Who are you? The boy's hands shook as he pressed the picture forward. You are my father. The words fell into the ruins like thunder. The man's body stiffened, his eyes locked on the picture. He stepped closer, taking it from the boy's trembling hand. His scarred fingers brushed the worn edges and his breath grew uneven. The mother stood still, her heart hammering. She had imagined this moment for years, but now that it was here, fear gripped her tighter than ever. What if he rejected them? What if he turned away? The man stared at the picture, then at the boy's face. He saw it, his own sharp jawline, the familiar shape of his eyes. His chest tightened, his voice cracked for the first time in years. This cannot be. The boy's voice trembled. It is true, Mother told me everything. You saved her, you are the man she loved, and I am your son. Silence pressed down. The only sound was the wind whispering through broken stone. The man's eyes burned with something he could not hide. Fear, doubt, and a flicker of hope he thought long buried. The mother finally stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. It is true, you never knew. I kept him hidden to protect him, but he has your blood, your spirit, and your strength. Look at him. You cannot deny it. The man's breath came heavy. His hands shook as he looked. At the boy again, the child stared back with wide, desperate eyes. The man saw it now, his own reflection staring back at him. Memories returned like fire. He remembered the night he saved her, the bond they had shared, the warmth he thought, lost to war, and now here stood the living proof. The boy stepped closer, his voice breaking. Please, don't turn away. I only want to know you. I only want you to be my father. The man's throat closed. He wanted to speak, to deny, to protect himself from the storm of feelings inside. But the words slipped out, unguarded, raw. Son, the boy gasped, his eyes filled with tears. He rushed forward and wrapped his arms around the man's waist. His small body trembled as he cried, "Father!" The man stood frozen, his arms hung stiff at his sides, but slowly, painfully, they rose. He pulled the boy against his chest, his scarred face lowered, and for the first time in years his tears fell freely. The mother stood nearby, her own tears streaming. The fear that had weighed on her for years loosened, for in that single embrace something stronger than war had been born. The ruins around them stood silent. The past had been broken, but here in the rubble a new beginning had appeared, and though danger still waited beyond the horizon, in that moment, father and son were finally one. The night had fallen heavy over the ruins. A fire crackled in the hollow of a broken wall, its light painted shadows on the faces of three souls who had been bound by fate. The boy leaned close to the man, his father, his small body still trembling with joy. But the man's eyes stared into the flames, his heart torn in ways words could not explain. The mother sat across from him, silent, watching. She could see the war raging inside his chest. He had embraced the boy. He had spoken the word son. But now the weight of that word pressed down on him like a mountain. For years he had lived alone, hiding, wandering from place to place. He was hunted by enemies, haunted by memories. How could he now accept this child? How could he accept her? Wouldn't he only bring them pain? The boy looked up at him, eyes shining with hope. "Father, will you come with us? Will you stay with us?" The question pierced him. He opened his mouth, but the words tangled on his tongue. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to promise the boy the world. But in his heart, fear coiled like a serpent. Finally, he whispered, "I don't know." The boy's smile faltered. His small fingers clutched the man's hand tighter. "But you are my father, you can't leave us." The man turned his face away. The scars across his cheek caught the firelight. "Being my son is dangerous, you don't understand. If they discover you are part of me, they will come for you. They will come for her. They will destroy everything you know." The mother's voice broke the silence, soft yet firm. "We already know danger. I raised him alone, hiding him, protecting him. But he deserves more than shadows. He deserves to know who he is." The man's chest ached. He remembered the life he had once dreamed of. A life with peace, a family. He had buried those dreams when the war ended. He thought them lost forever. But now here was his son, flesh and blood, staring at him with unshakable faith. The boy's voice cracked as he whispered, "Please don't leave us. I don't care if it's dangerous. I just want you. I just want my father." The man's eyes stung. He tried to harden his heart, but the boy's words cut through every wall he had built. His own reflection shone in those young eyes, and he could not look away. He rose to his feet, pacing near the ruins. The firelight flickered across his face as memories of the war clawed at him. He saw blood, fire, betrayal, and loss. He saw himself running from it all, believing he could never belong anywhere again. The mother's voice followed him, steady as stone. "You have a choice now. You can keep running, or you can give him what no one else can, his father. His name, his place in this world." The man stopped. His breath was heavy. He turned slowly, looking at them both. The boy's face was streaked with tears, but his eyes burned with hope. The woman's face was lined with sorrow, but also with strength. She had carried the truth alone for years, waiting for this moment. The silence stretched, broken only by the fire's crackle. Then, slowly, the man walked back to the boy. He knelt down, his rough hands trembling as they touched the boy's shoulders. His voice was low, filled with fear and love. "If I stay, they will come. If I stay, we will face storms you cannot imagine. Are you ready for that?" The boy nodded without hesitation. "I don't care. I want you. Even if the whole world turns against us, I want you." The man's chest broke open, his arms wrapped around the boy, pulling him close. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Then I will never leave you again. You are my son, and I am your father." The mother's breath caught. Her tears spilled freely. For years she had lived in silence. But now the silence had ended. The man lifted his head, meeting her gaze across the fire, his voice steady now, stronger than before. I cannot change the past, but I can choose now, and I choose you both. I choose to fight for this family no matter what comes. The boy clung tighter, the picture of the man still pressed against his chest. For the first time, it was no longer just an image. The man was here, alive, holding him. The fire burned brighter, as if the ruins themselves had heard the vow. In that moment, a broken soldier became a father, and a lost boy became a son. But deep in the shadows of the fort, unseen eyes watched. Whispers had spread too far, and enemies had begun to listen. The choice had been made, and now it would be tested. The fire burned low as dawn touched the sky. Pale light spilled across the ruins, painting the stones gold. The boy slept soundly for the first time in his life, his head resting against his father's chest. The man held him gently, his arms, strong yet trembling, as if afraid the boy might vanish if he let go. The mother watched in silence. Her eyes were heavy from sleepless nights, but her heart was lighter than it had been in years. She had feared rejection. She had feared that the man would turn away, but here he was, holding their son, calling him his own. For a brief moment, peace settled over them, yet the world outside the ruins had not changed. Beyond the broken walls, whispers were growing louder. Enemies had heard of them, and hunters were already moving. The man knew this. His instincts screamed it. He had lived too long on the run not to feel the danger pressing close. As the boy stirred awake, the man's voice was low but firm. We cannot stay here. We must move. They will come for us. The boy blinked, confused. But why, father? Why can't we just live here? The man touched his cheek. Because the world is cruel, son. They will not let us live in peace, not yet. But one day we will find a place where no one can take you from me. The boy nodded slowly, holding tighter to his father's arm. His young heart understood only part of the truth, but his trust was complete. He believed his father's words, and that belief gave him courage. The mother rose, gathering their few belongings. Her eyes scanned the horizon. Where will we go? She asked softly. The man's gaze hardened. To the borderlands, I know a place where they will not find us easily. But the journey will be long, and the dangers will be greater than before. The boy stood, his small fists clenched. I don't care. As long as we are together, I am not afraid. The man's chest swelled with pride. He saw his own spirit burning in the boy's eyes. For years he had believed he was broken, a ghost of a soldier with nothing left. But now he saw a reason to fight again, not for war but for family. They left the ruins behind as the sun climbed higher. Their steps were steady, guided by a bond that had been born in truth. Yet with every mile, shadows followed. A group of figures moved through the forest behind them, silent and swift. Their whispers were sharp as knives. Find the human. Find the child. By evening, the family reached a ridge overlooking a vast valley. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of smoke from distant villages. The boy pointed toward the horizon. Is he out there too? Other humans like you? The man's eyes narrowed. Yes, but scattered, broken. Some are prisoners, some wander like I did, and some still fight. If we reach them, we may not be alone. The boy's heart leapt. Then let's go. Let's find them all. Let's make a place for us. The mother touched her son's shoulder, her eyes full of both fear and hope. Perhaps that is what fate wanted all along. Perhaps you were meant to bring him back to his people and bring us to a new beginning. The man said nothing, but deep in his chest, something stirred. A fire he thought had died. He looked at the boy, then at the woman he once saved, and he knew. This was not just a reunion. This was the start of something greater. As night fell again, they made camp beneath the stars. The boy lay between them, whispering softly as sleep took him. We are a family now. Nothing can break us. The man and woman exchanged a glance across the fire, their faces worn by pain, their bodies scarred by loss. Yet in that moment, there was strength, stronger than any blade, stronger than any army. The stars above shimmered as if watching, and in the quiet of the night a vow was sealed, not of war, not of survival alone, but of love, a father, a mother, and a child. Together at last, stepping into the unknown, carrying hope like a torch in the dark. A new beginning,